Have you ever been walking alone, maybe at night, when you suddenly felt like someone was watching you? You stop for a second, look around, but there's no one there. Still, that strange feeling refuses to disappear. So, is someone actually watching you? Or is your brain playing a very clever trick on you? Believe it or not, almost everyone has experienced this at least once. And here's the surprising part. It doesn't mean you're imagining things or losing your mind. In fact, this strange feeling is one of the oldest survival abilities your brain has ever developed. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors lived in dangerous environments. They couldn't afford to ignore unusual sounds or strange movements. If they assumed nothing was there, and they were wrong, they might not survive. So the brain evolved to always stay one step ahead. Even today, your brain still follows that same ancient survival rule. It constantly scans your surroundings for anything unusual. Most of the time, you never notice it, because your brain is doing it automatically without asking for your permission. Now imagine you're completely alone. It's quiet, maybe a little too quiet. Suddenly, you hear a tiny sound behind you. Your heart beats faster. You turn around immediately, but there's absolutely nothing there. So why did your body react before you even had time to think? That's because your brain doesn't wait for perfect evidence. It would rather make a small mistake than take a dangerous risk. In psychology, staying alert is often safer than assuming everything is fine. Your brain's first job isn't to make you comfortable, it's to keep you alive. Think about it this way. If the wind moves a bush, your brain has two choices. It can ignore it, or it can assume there might be danger. Even if it's wrong most of the time, making that mistake is far safer than ignoring the one moment when the danger is actually real. So the next time you feel like someone is watching you, don't panic. It doesn't automatically mean something supernatural is happening. More often than not, it's simply your brain doing exactly what it has been designed to do for thousands of years. And trust me, this is only the beginning, because what your brain does next is even more fascinating. Have you ever noticed that this feeling becomes much stronger at night? During the day, your brain has plenty of information to understand what's around you, but in the dark, everything changes. Shadows become confusing, small sounds feel louder, and suddenly, your imagination starts filling in the missing pieces. Your brain hates missing information. Whenever it can't clearly see something, it doesn't simply wait for the answer. Instead, it makes its best guess. Sometimes that guess is correct, but other times, your brain creates a false sense of danger that doesn't actually exist. That's why a jacket hanging on a chair can suddenly look like a person, or a tree outside your window can seem like someone standing completely still. Your eyes see only part of the picture, and your brain quickly finishes the rest. Psychologists call this pattern recognition. It's one of the most powerful abilities of the human brain. We constantly search for faces, bodies, and movement, even where none actually exists. And here's something really fascinating. The more anxious or stressed you are, the stronger this feeling becomes. That's because stress tells your brain to stay on high alert. Suddenly, every tiny sound, every shadow, every movement feels much more important than it really is. Think about the last time you watched a horror movie. After it ended, didn't every little noise in your house suddenly seem suspicious? The movie didn't change your home, it changed your brain's expectations. This is called priming. Once your brain expects danger, it starts finding evidence everywhere, even when there's none. It's almost like your brain puts on a pair of invisible glasses that make the world seem much more threatening. So the next time you suddenly feel like someone is watching you, remember this. Your brain isn't trying to scare you, it's trying to protect you. And sometimes it protects you a little too well. But there's one final psychological twist that makes this feeling even stranger, and almost nobody talks about it. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever been completely alone, and for absolutely no reason, you suddenly looked behind you? Nobody called your name, you didn't hear clear footsteps, but something inside you said, "Turn around." Why does that happen? The answer is surprisingly simple. Your brain is constantly making predictions about the world around you. Every second, it's asking one question: is everything normal? The moment something feels even slightly different, your attention shifts automatically. That's why complete silence can sometimes feel uncomfortable. It sounds strange, but your brain actually expects a normal amount of background noise. When everything suddenly becomes too quiet, your mind starts wondering if something important is missing. And that's when your imagination quietly joins the conversation. A tiny sound becomes footsteps. A moving curtain becomes a person. A harmless shadow suddenly feels alive, not because your eyes failed, but because your brain was trying to protect you before you had enough information. Psychologists have studied this for years. They found that when people feel uncertain, their brains become much more sensitive to possible threats. It's a survival feature, not a flaw. Your brain would rather be overly careful than dangerously confident. Think about smoke alarms. Sometimes they go off even when there's no real fire. That's annoying, but it's much safer than staying completely silent during an actual emergency. Your brain works in almost exactly the same way. So, the next time you suddenly feel watched, don't immediately assume something supernatural is happening. Before you blame ghosts, give some credit to the most powerful prediction machine you'll ever own: your brain. But here's the twist. Sometimes the feeling of being watched isn't created by darkness at all. It can happen in broad daylight, in a crowded room, or even while you're sitting completely alone, and the psychology behind that is even more fascinating. This is called the spotlight effect. It's a psychological bias where we believe people are paying far more attention to us than they actually are. You think everyone noticed your mistake, your awkward walk, or what you're wearing. But the truth is, most people are too busy thinking about themselves. Your brain isn't trying to embarrass you. It's simply making you the main character of your own story. And because you're always aware of yourself, it feels like everyone else must be paying the same amount of attention. But that's almost never true. So the next time you suddenly feel like someone is watching you, pause for a second. Ask yourself, is this real evidence, or is my brain simply trying to protect me? Most of the time, you'll discover it's just your incredible brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of psychology. The scariest experiences aren't always created by the outside world. Sometimes they're created by the most powerful object in the universe, the human brain. If you've ever experienced this feeling, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if you enjoy exploring the hidden psychology behind everyday life, don't forget to subscribe to AIM Psychology. I'll see you in the next video.